Greetings. Thanks for your valuable uploads. I would like to thank all participants for coming here in this bad day of Istanbul, especially important figures of steel and those who create value in both in Turkey and the world. And I'm so happy to be here with you. Also, I would like to thank EUROMETAL, YISAD, and Still Orbis for inviting me here as a speaker. I would like to thank them. This is a valuable environment. The team here is aware of all events in Turkey in terms of steel. We watched the video of Tatçelik, but I would like to say certain things about Tatçelik. I would like to say, free of the current events, in a larger perspective, I would like to think about a more meta things, and then afterwards, I would like to talk about purchasing and how I look to the life. I would like to tell you this is the reflection of what I have in mind. And afterwards, hopefully, with your questions, we might find new ways and we might get new information. And therefore, we will be concluding my part. And when they invited me, I told to Mr. Uğur that I don't know what to say. And when I thought about what I will say, I watched the presentation of Mr. Uğur. He spoke about everything in 15 minutes. I don't have anything to say. Maybe I can say what happened between November and now. And it's great to having them here, by the way. And I hope that in the future we will have young bloods among us. And when we look at the Tatmetal, which touches more than 2,500 people with 600 employees, and our motto is value for the future. And in terms of creating value, we have galvanized products, cold products. And when we look at our customers, we can see automotive, construction, and many different uh, customers about rolled steel. So where were we? Where are we? And many of the participants are aware of Tatmetal, but I was expecting more foreign guests. Our center is Zonguldak, where we produce, but our sales center is in Ataşehir, but we also have an office in Bursa. You can see our place with a view of Prince Islands, and we are passing time in such a beautiful view. Also, you can see our factory in Karadeniz Ereğli. Now it changed a bit. For example, its roof is completely covered with solar panels now, and you can see our steel centers below. Tatmetal as a brand is a brand that constantly increases its production. As you can see, in the last 5 years, it doubled its capacity and production. It got its production from half a ton to uh, half a million ton to 1 million ton. And I would like to thank all of our directors and officers for that, and everything we get from the world, from our customers, we are using all of the revenue that we earn from them, and we invest in this uh, work, all of our revenue that we get from them, and according to the in search of the Chamber of Commerce of Istanbul, we have increased to the 31st rank. And Tatçmetal, when we look at the world, we export to more than 70 countries and we aim to increase that. Our aim is to sell steel to every country in the world. And for this purpose, we became the number one with our products in exports. In the future, we aim to do so again. So for this, we are thankful to our employees, our importers, and our customers. We can see that we have an export between 40% to 50%, and these are mainly to European markets, to North America, and we are shipping all our products with wide means. And as our friends from EUROMETAL mentioned, and we are a company that who sell the wide amount of value-added products, and we have become prominent due to that, and we will be continuing selling to the East Europe, and we want to have more presence in that area with more value-added steels. In that manner, we have 1.5 million tons capacity in our factory in a forest area. As you can see, we may have a limited space. We had to squeeze a lot, but I can go into detail, but I would like to pass a bit because we have limited time. Generally, if you look at our capacity, we have milling capacity of 1.5 million tons. Also, we have painted products that we can sell to many sectors. And what we mean by the value added products. And in order to create these products, we have a galvanized line for that. We will have a new galvanized line with a better capacity, and with this, we will be carrying our export to the next levels. So when I said that, let's take a look at general perspective from Tats Metal. In a general perspective, the steel production was close to zero. So I divided it in uh, four portions. One is half a century to the Second World War, and after World War II ended, after the establishment of the iron, steel, and coal organizations establishment, and after the support of the Korea and Japan, Japan support, the steel production rose. And here, about 1973, around the time that I was born, there was a crisis of the iron and steel, and there was a fluctuation in terms of energy. After this fast increase for 25 years, it goes a little bit flat. But afterwards, something happened in the 2000s, and with the, maybe because of the effect of the China, and after that, the steel production in the world goes upwards, but up to the 2 billion, we can see that there's a little bit of decrease. This is the time where the world finance crisis happened, where the price of the steel rose so high, where People thought that the steel will never drop, but regardless, we bought steel in a lower prices again. And second fluctuation, if in the China where the steel dropped about, and there was a little bit of crisis after China shortened the production of steel. When we differentiate China and the others, as you can see, China from the 2000s it rose upwards. You can see this point where the China changed its production, where they got rid of their problems about induction ovens, etc. And as you can see, the China has a big effect in that. When we look at the population, we had nearly 6 billion. Now we have a lot more. Our population rose more than 30%, and we can see we will have 2 billion population more, and it will be 500, 600 million will increase in Asia, and even more is expected in Africa. Why am I talking about this? So I always thought that India was only 300, 400 million below China, but now there are news. It says that India caught up with China, they said. And in the future, it's expected to for the China's population to be staying stable and the same while India surpass it. So what does it mean? This is the steel consumption per capita of India, and you can see the world's steel consumption per capita, and the rising point is China. So in the future, there will be more people. Even if we imagine that they use 100 kilograms per capita, we will have more steel requirement in the next 25 years. Now, India doesn't do much export, not near China. They don't require much steel, but if we say that they require the steel, there could be different things. As I say, that the journey of steel hasn't ended. So I'm speaking like an historian. That's because I'm so impressed by that. From historically, the ore of this iron is about $100. Maybe Mr. Asaf will mention more. I took at the inflation of the America when I multiplied and made the necessary calculation. The while the ore should be $40, it's $100 now. And what I mean that all of the money spent for the industry until the 2000s, while they had more uh, labor added value. Now they started to have more share of the pie with their own production. They got more share of that. And about the coal, I got this table, and similarly, when we explore it we can see that we purchase coal for 200, while the cost is $70. Maybe if we ask those of the coals industry, they would say a different thing. They would have their excuses, but I don't think that, and I think that is a bit overpriced. And China, if you look at what does China do in terms of that, we are hearing from traders in China, etc. But they claim that China is working for a loss, but I would like to look at a different side. First of all of the corporations are state owned in China, but when we look at the import of China for the coking coal, it's about 50 to 60 m tons, and rather than still they are selling us its added value. Maybe the producer in China could have a little margins, but they are exporting their natural resources. And from the news, we can see that you may have heard that the China is trying to reduce the price of steel, but while they are trying to increase the price of the coal. And China's export is about 67 million tons. So even if they don't export this 80 million tons, if they did not export it, our prices would rise so high, and for them it's only about 10% for their own prices. If we look at the Turkey, in the last 10 years of the 2000s, they gave a good effort. They came to the eighth place, and now we are protecting our place as Turkey. But now we are keeping our place in the eighth place. And now Mr. Veysel will mention better. I'm not interested in much in numbers, but still, as you can see, we are still far away from competitive capacity in certain areas, and we hope to catch up with them. The flat steel, I mean, and we hope to improve on that, and we hope to catch on with others. When we look at the general Turkish data, the Turkish population is ever growing. We may have reached 90 billion unofficially. I mean, the 90 million people unofficially. We have exceeded in population 85 million. And we also have the problem about inflation. Inflation is rising through the world. And while these are happening, from the November 2023, from the Urbase speech, what changed? It's about the import regime of the Turkey. Our taxes rose to around 15%, but the taxes of what we produce also rose, but the numbers got so close. So if you import hot rolled steel plate, you pay the same tax, and our millers are not much different from the old ones, and we hope to have these taxes to be increased in terms of added value. while the effects of that are not seen in this graphics, it will be seen in the April, May figures will be more apparent in terms of that, especially painted sheet, galvanized, cold sheet, etc. And I think that in the future, up to the June, we will see that import will rise, and we had a big problems about in the form of two earthquakes in the January and February. We will come to the certain levels, but I think the same about import. Now let's look at the purchasing part. How do I look while doing trade, or how do I try to understand the market? The price differences are important in trade. We can see that of differences, it was so low. The hot rolled warehouse outlets and hot rolled uh, imports CFR Turkey, we can see that there's a healthy increase. Both Turkey and world are increasing in parallel. And when you see something like that, you can invest in still in any way, forex or raw material, etc. You can understand that the future is strong when we look at its continuation. We have a Russian-Ukrainian war here. Here, the difference between the import and the local got so wide when we get disconnected from the world. Its effects are seen and pass in 2 and 3 months. Here, what happened? Tax increase and earthquake as our prices increase compared to the world. In the 8 weeks, you will see that this margin will become lower. Also, I would like to add the tax amounts, tax rates. The difference will be a little bit higher, not like the olden times. And this is about the capacity effect. When we look at the construction steel, we can produce enough. We have uh, good facilities for that. When we look at that, the effect of the Russian war doesn't affect uh, construction steel, and the prices doesn't rise suddenly. And with our future investments in that area, I think that this limited capacity effect will get lower, and it's actually these kinds of fluctuations are actually a good opportunity for those dealing in steel. But in 2 to 3 years, this fluctuation will get minimized. Looking at different places, we can see coal or etc. We can see that if it's on top of it or bottom of it, and we can look at this in our perspective. So how much is it from ore, or how much is it from scrap? We can see the price of steel in that. The price of hot rolls or still could be rise or get lower, but you can create an added value in the market by using your experiences. Also, there are many events, natural disasters, etc. The cost of the money is so important. The acquirance rate of the dollar is important for that. If your profit margin is low, you may not want to grow. So when we look at this in the pandemic. There were not much people going to the office. I wanted to see that if it was real or not in the 40th week in our last meeting still, but and when I took the data from 40th week, I reduced all of the data to zero. I try to get a graph that will show me the future. When I reduce the price to zero, I saw that in the 15-16 years, I saw that after the November purchase, all of the steel prices rose. Only 2 years show that when after 2009, when the world financial crisis and other is the China's when China had problem with that, and when we exclude these two, if you're interested in the forex and trade of the steel and iron, you can find a good time to make purchase in 48 week. When you understand this, you can use the dynamics of the steel and get added value with that. This is what I had in mind. So if you have any questions, I would like to answer them. If you like to add anything, I can get your questions if you like. Thank you very much.
Çok teşekkürler Ayhan Bey.
Thank you, Mr. Ayhan.
Bu son söylediğinizden sonra fiyatların yükselmesinin müsebbibi Stilor.
I hope that after what you said last, I hope that it wouldn't cause the rose in prices. Are there any questions from the hall? Can you hear me? No, I can't hear.
Duyuyorum ama
Yok, mikrofondan gelmiyor.
nereden düşüyoruz? Tamam.
Merhabalar, Mehmet.
Greetings, Mehmet Çangbur. We would like to thank to Mr. Ayhan for his beautiful presentation. You've shown a population thing. It was interesting. What got me interested in that while the population in all around the world increases, the Europe gets lower, where the population increase are generally places where there are investments and the population rises where we will not affect much like Africa. We know that the Turkey has a export goal. We know that we export 50% to there. How do you see the future of Turkey in terms of export? If you say that our hardship will continue or increase, it will change according to the updates. We are generally in our geopolitical location. We were used to working with Russians, but after the war, we lost certain parts of this resource. We had to directly work with Asia, and that got us taxed twice. We don't have production that could compete with the Asian market, as you know, with the Ukrainian and Russian war. And after we have investment in flat steel, I hope to be competitive again in the future. And what I see that with India in African market, if India withdraw from the steel market and if we can integrate more with the developments in the European market, we can have advantage in that place. But the China, when they saw this before, And 15 years ago, I listened to a professor, and he was again pointing towards Africa, but there's still time to create this kind of flat still in China, but still there's still time for that. Now our target is currently again the America and Europe. When we lean towards more added value products, I think that the next 25 years will be more productive. Our investments are uh, profit-oriented investments. So I say that Europe and America. Any other questions? First of all, I would like to thank you for the presentation. So about the target markets, we all say America and Europe, but America has 25% protection, and Europe gave us a quota. But how will you overcome of that? These are good promises, but we have two topics that we can't overcome, and I think that if we can't overcome these, I don't think we can export that good to Europe and America. We are growing, we are investing, you are investing, everyone is investing, everybody is speaking of export. We will sell to Africa, we will sell to Far East. Africa doesn't have money, and Far East has other problems. So I would like to share that and get your opinion. There was a saying that when I was working in academia, it was written in a bold letter that we can succeed in hard, and impossible only takes time. That's why I started my timeline from the 19,000s. It's rather easier when I started from the 19,000, but otherwise it's doesn't seem that good otherwise. But we are selling in Turkey. We but we also selling. We also have competition. Where do we compete with Far East? Where do we compete with them? We compete with them in the cheapest, not that sophisticated materials. We compete with Far East, at least to the Europe. So when you go to Europe, and if you set your foot there, if you take steps to be integrated in industry, so for example, we are trying, uh, we try to have, we don't have anyone that has distribution point or that trades with you can see in the mosques like in Istanbul, they have a lot trade offices. They are selling all of the materials of Asia from there. Thousands of people are working there. Maybe how many of us are working there? We have nearly none. What kind of facilities that we have there? No, we don't have any facilities that we can partially industrialize there. So only if we do that, we can get connected with them. But if we try to use only mediums, only interceptors, we can't get much. But if we are able to reach them with our investments and added value, we can only reach them like this. Of course, there is a quota, but they don't have much taxes. It's only important that we can have our services to there. So Vietnam, China, if I want to compete with them, no China, but still Taiwan and Indonesia, and they're only the producers of the Europe itself. if we can have a system that we can compete with the local actors, we can have a good system. But until that, we have certain thoughts in Tatçelik. We are talking about how we can solve it, and we are trying to do so in Tatçelik. Mr. Mehmet Ali. Thanks for this beautiful presentation. Will you share it? I'll thank you. Of course, I will share it. Mr. Ayhan, galvanizing sector industry in galvanizing producers. There are many investments. I understand about the hot pot, but what was the reason for the cold galvanized investments? In the last 5 years, there were many investments. We have other companies that declared investments. What was the reasoning for that? What do you think about this? So, from my own perspective, I would like to answer on my perspective, not from the perspective of the bosses or shareholders. So, the reason of that, first of all, is to develop technology. And previously, we have to renew our facilities. The goal is to renew facilities that are low in production or have old technology. The second one is to have facilities that can create and produce better products. Also, our goal will be to grow in export and go to the foreign countries. We are thinking that we have opening, we have access. We are thinking like that, but it doesn't matter. It is hot or cold. There is overcapacity in flat too. And if you look at that, we have, if you disregard that, we have uh, hot plate, etc. And I think that Turkey is trying to open the way by increasing downstream. Mr. Typhoon also mentioned maybe these rules will change after 3 to 5 years. Now we are at the door of the European Union. Maybe these doors will open by accident or by willingly. The things could change. We had increased capacity in pandemic time, but there was a magical wand there, and we were ready in Turkey, and we increased our export to the level that could meet the demand. That's how we were able to meet the demand. And the shareholders got the results of their investments more than enough. That's how I see, but I still think that the shareholders could speak better on this point. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Mr. Ayhan, thanks for listening to me.